Good morning, Todd County. Welcome to Tuesday, July 18th, 2023, Todd County Board of Commissioners regular board meeting. Before I call the meeting to order, we do have one item on the agenda, and we have a full house today, and I want everybody to just understand discussion, and we're going to gather some information. So keep it under control. And the sheriff is here today, so we will go from there. So I'm going to call the meeting to order, and roll call today. We have Commissioner Denny, Commissioner Becker, Commissioner Noska, Commissioner Newman present, along with our auditor treasurer, our county coordinator, and our attorney is absent. Please stand for the pledge, and would you remove your hats, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Again, good morning, everybody. Is there any amendments to the agenda?
I have none, Mr. Chair.
Okay, if none, is there a motion, please?
So move.
Motion by Danny, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Becker. Discussion. If none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Consent items.
Consent items today are the meeting minute approval for July 5th, 2023, gambling permit for Midwest Outdoor Unlimited, Prairie Partners, Sylvan Shores Association Incorporated, a temporary on-sale liquor license, a resignation, registered nurse Jennifer Panuski, 7/14/2023, and appoint child services supervisor Jonathan Matson, start date 7/19/2023.
Okay, we've heard the request. Is there a motion, please?
So move.
Motion by Becker. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Noska. Discussion. If none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Michael. Come on up. And then would you please introduce yourself? Pull the mic close to you and then introduce yourself.
Michael Leggett. I am in here representing myself and the Big Swan Lake Association. I have property at 17771 Emerald Trail, Bertram, which is the east side of Emerald Trail to the south end of it. And so I'm here in regards to runoff from the west side of from the east side of the road of Emerald Trail, the Harleman property going into Big Swan Lake. Do I assume you guys are up to speed? She gave you all the stuff from soil and water, so do I assume I do not need to go over all that? Or do I need to?
Do you have the stuff from soil and water?
I don't have their plan. I don't know if there's a plan as such, but Soil and Water has a whole bunch. Well, okay, so a little history. There's runoff going from the east side of the road to the west into Big Swan Lake, and I think Soil and Water has done a great job since 2018, 6 years ago, when this all started. So they've been there from the onset. I think they know what the situation is with the runoff. I think they've done a great job in saying or what needs to be done to mitigate it or correct it or change it, whatever that means. Barnum Township has been involved with that. They've had the road wash out, so they're involved with it. So the runoff is there. There's documentation. It's going across the road. I've been there for 20 years. I was there. I bought the second lot there when it was first put in. So I'm not an engineer, but for the first 15, 14 years, there was no runoff into that culvert going into the lake. Once it was put into agricultural land, that changed. The ditch is now filled in with sediment. Water, again, I'm not an engineer, goes downhill, but it can't go to the culvert anymore because the ditch is full. Basically, the buffer strip now is the neighbor's lawn and my lawn across the road after the water goes across the road, across the lots and into the lake. So I'm here to ask, or Swan Lake is asking for your help. I'm asking for your help, and so is the Big Swan Lake Association, to get this remedied. And we're hoping you guys can help that. And whatever that means is, again, Soil and Water knows what needs to be done. There's been engineers out there, all kinds of things like that, that they know what should happen. I think the Hollerman Farm knows what should happen. I think everybody wants to work together. So my question is, how can you guys, as commissioners, Todd County, it's in Todd County, so I think it's a Todd County issue. It's affecting Big Swan Lake. There's a lot of things affecting Big Swan Lake. The LID has put a lot of money into mitigating a lot of issues in the lake. So how can you guys help? We need your help. So that's my question. Everybody knows what needs to be done. How do we get it going? It's been ongoing for 6 years. How do we get that wheel in motion?
From a commissioner standpoint, there is also another elected board that oversees water and soil, okay, and that is the Water and Soil Board of Supervisors. Okay, have you addressed that board?
I haven't gone to their board, but I have probably 30, 40 different emails from Deja Anton in regards to all this. She's been to Big Swan Lake meeting from back, and I think actually 2018 and 19. Have I gone to the board? No. Have I had correspondence with them? Yes. And has the Lake Association had correspondence with them? Yes. Do they know what should be done? Yes.
So you've had conversations with the Water and Soil Board members, the supervisors?
With Deja Anton.
Okay.
And I've had conversations with the township.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure, I mean, when I say looking for help, if you're gonna tell the Big Swan Lake Association we need to go to the MPCA, great, or do we need to go to Minnesota Center for Environmental Advocacy, great, or I'm asking for your help. How do we get this going? So have we been to Soil and Water? Yes.
Commissioners?
I guess I like to hear Soil and Water, if
Yeah.
we could.
Desha, come on up.
Deepa?
Thank you. Thank you for coming. So the update basically for it's sediment erosion. It's what's happening off of the fields during the heavy rain events or heavy melts. And they have been coming, I think we've had 2 years now that's been running across the road into the neighbors, carrying like corn silage that, or stalks and that sort of thing over there. When that happened, actually, Sean reached out to us right away, trying to look for some sort of solution out there. And we do have engineers that have gone out and surveyed the area. Right now, we're looking at spring, as long as Sean's on board with us. We're looking at spring for using some of the watershed monies to address the erosion issues. But we've been working through that One Watershed, One plan. As you know, that takes a couple of years to get started or to get planned. And now we are on the implementation phase of it. So the big problems really that I am aware of really happened like in 2018 is when we went out and assessed the site. and noticed that right on the property, right on the lake itself, there was quite a bit of erosion where that ditch was outletting and the culvert outletting. So the Big Swan Lake put money in towards and got that outlet fixed. So that's ended that problem. And then as far as this year, looking at what, as far as there is sand in that ditch line now, but not on the one that goes direct, the one that goes directly to the lake. That one hasn't been filled, but the road ditch itself does have sediment in it and has been collecting. So the solution is to get wascobs out into the field. And like I said, and I've talked with these guys several times before too, we don't have any enforcement on that because it's an erosion issue and we're soil and water, and we go out and we work with voluntary landowners. So it really comes down to, is the Holloman Dairy willing to work with us on that? There has been indication that, yes, that would be the case. They are here, I believe, today, so you could ask them directly if they have, are going to seriously consider that. There is some issues with the road itself, and that's why Burnhamville Township has been pulled in, because the road is basically in some areas flat with the field as opposed to being raised up. The engineers hesitated on raising and recommendation, making a recommendation to raising that road until the field has been fixed. They feel like the field should come first before the road. And I think, and I don't want to speak for him if he's here today, Lauren Feldbaum has also been contacted on that road issue as well, and what his recommendations would be for that. So it was a combination of three things involving the outlet at the lake, which has been fixed, the road itself, and the field. So all three were an issue, and one of them has been fixed. Does that answer your questions?
Yeah, to answer some questions. So the work to be done, is there multiple wascobs you said that were
Yeah.
to be installed, sediment control basins basically?
Yep,
Okay.
it's a big field.
Yeah.
It was forested with planted
And
pines in the
has
past.
the engineering plans all been finished already, or are we waiting on a confirmation from Hollerman Dairy to go forward? Is that
Yeah, what they've done is they've done the survey parts of it, with preliminary, but there hasn't been a final plan
Okay.
done for that yet. And part of that is because of the engineers, they've asked where that priority is, knowing that wouldn't even be funded, through us until next year. We have just said, make sure we have it done for this fall.
Are there any other alternative funding options as to this other than the watershed funds?
Yep, we did apply last year for a grant and did not get that grant. Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure it's a quite costly project.
Yeah, they're never cheap.
Right.
Mhm.
So that
Yep.
cost share piece is big.
Yep.
Is there anybody here from the township? Yes, sir? You want to address this issue? Please introduce yourself, please.
I'm Bruce Johnson, Supervisor, Burnhamville Township.
Okay.
I know of the issue. I've been out there several times myself and seeing what the township should do, and we're gonna build the road up. It's planned to do it this summer, and we're gonna dig the ditch out so the water runs where it's supposed to run, where originally was when the road was built. And we have plans of doing that, but now if there's something coming from the county, which this buffer area, we're gonna wait and do this all at the same time. So our plan is still to do it this summer yet, or fall. But we're kind of waiting to see what else we can do for a buffer up there. When the engineers get that figured out, we're willing to take care of the road. That is our problem.
Okay.
And our plan is to build it up probably a good foot and then dig the ditch out and put the dirt back up, probably into Hollerman Dairy's field.
Okay. So would you build the cul-de-sac up too? That's a pretty big sized cul-de-sac down there too.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay, so you're just waiting on water and soil to,
Yeah,
and then working with the Hollermans and
yes.
get the,
Right now, I'm just starting to work on Long Lake, on Hollerman Dairy has some land there too. And we're gonna put a little buffer strip along our road with some lilacs and some dogwood, and I'm working on that right now. And that's through Soil and Water to get 75% paid. We pay the other 25%. So
Okay.
we're doing our best to work with it, but it all takes time.
yep, okay. Thank you for that. Any questions?
You should have Sean,
What's that?
you should have Sean too.
Yeah. Sean? You wanna come up and?
Hi, Sean
Morning.
Hollerman, Hollerman Dairy. Yeah, Luke, has been out several times for the engineering part of it, been looking at it, been on the phone with Luke several times this summer, going over different options. Just kinda waiting on final words there, funding, and it's a go as soon as the silage is off. And the roadside, they wanna take the black dirt from the road ditch, put it back out in the field, have no problem with that. It's just a matter of it, all coming together. It's making and then we plan on seeding a fairly good size buffer strip along that edge that will take the hay off of. The last 2 years, it hasn't paid to seed a buffer strip there if we still have the water going over the road. So we had to get all items in order to get that done and get the water running to the culvert correctly, and then seeding the buffer strip makes sense at that point then.
Okay. So that culvert, is that north of Mike's place, right?
I'm not 100% sure where Mike lives, so.
Okay. Right, is that the culvert? Okay. All right. So it's just a matter of getting the crops off and then hopefully getting all the
That's
permitting and the
Been
funding.
my
and-
understanding since over a year already. It's just been trying to get everything organized with the engineers. They went out last fall once, and then they were out this spring after we had the crops planted. And it's, like I said, it's a big field. There's a lot of water moving in different directions. And it's just a matter of trying to figure out what the right alternatives are to manage it correctly.
Okay.
And that's what the engineers are for, and it just takes time when it's that big of a chunk of ground.
Mr. Chair, if I could, Deja, what water district or water plan? Oh, it is Brainerd, Mississippi. Okay.
Lou, anything?
No, I guess I don't have anything else. I mean, it'd just be nice to maybe have, maybe at our next board meeting, an update on where things are standing at, or not at the meeting, but at a work session.
Work session?
Maybe something like that, just get an update from the Soil and Water and, where we're standing, and maybe, we can move forward that way. Because it sounds like things are heading the right direction, just that it's a timing thing at this point.
So I think we all gotta work together out there and get everything resolved. And I think, Sean, you're right, it takes time. Government works slow.
Unfortunately, that's the way it is, yes.
Yeah. And I hope the people on Big Swan Lake understand that I don't think you wanna damage the lake. It's just a matter of, addressing the runoff issues, and you know what? It'd be right now, it'd be nice if we had a little runoff issue. I hate to say it,
Right.
because those crops out there they're hurting.
There seems to be a few other issues that with the Swan Lake people that I don't know if could be addressed at this point. One is seems to be a condition of they're worried about if the permitting for the irrigation wells were all in place. And the irrigation period and how it's monitored. The feedlot itself and the permitting for the feedlot and what we've done for manure management for the feedlot itself. The vegetative treatment area, the water catch basin, was all engineered before it was put in. We did that through a private engineer. It's over double its capacity for what we have for the amount of concrete poured where the feedlot is to what the VTA is. It's more than doubled its size. So it's been working extremely well. You can ask Deja. It's phenomenal. I mean, it's doing everything we expected it to do and more for getting rid of the water. There is very little water that runs in it, period, but the water that does run in it is going really well. The other issue was if we were part of the township thing was we were supposed to plant trees. There was I'd have to go back and look at the order form from Deja, but we planted, I don't know, 400 plus trees, I think, along the road and the feedlot. Obviously, this year is not a good year for planting trees, so they'll be, what doesn't survive will be replanted next year again. And the other question was about if the cattle are humanely taken care of. Beef cattle all over this country spend their whole life outside. So it is not inhumane for cattle to be outside. Cattle are designed to be outside. We can get better weight gains, we can get better results and cleaner cattle, healthier cattle when they are outside than under a roof. And that was the reason for the VTA to take care of the water so that we could have them outside instead of under a roof. I tried to get the veterinarian to come to explain that. He could not schedule into his schedule to come and do that. I do have the guy that we work with for the irrigation here. If there's any questions for him on the permitting process and how all the irrigation and the wells and how we monitor them and watch that, if the Swan Lake people want to hear that, I guess.
So I think the DNR oversees the wells. correct?
100%.
Yep, so,
We got to report water usage every year.
yep, okay. We were out there the other day, and the feedlot, the runoff, you got a buffer just to the west of that, so if anything escapes out of there, it'll go into that buffer. It's a grassland buffer, yeah.
Yeah.
They did bring up the bags. My question to you is, the county was providing bag pickup from solid waste?
We do have that. It's just a matter of timing to get out there and pick that up. I mean, it's not going nowhere. Yes, it needs to get picked up. We did gather it up some. We had to repile some corn stalks because we got that gale force winds right after we covered them piles, and it tore all the plastic off, and then it froze up, and we weren't able to get to it. Spring planting shows up, and the pile, we had to move all that. We had to move all the piles to clean up the plastic. We moved the piles, recovered it, and now, yes, we need to finish cleaning up the rest of the plastic. But there, I mean, it's my property.
Yeah. Do you have the containers from solid waste though to put the bags in?
At the main farm, yes.
Oh, the main farm, so you don't have them out at the feedlot?
Not over there because we just don't use that much plastic there. It's just, that's the first plastic we've used there, so.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? Like I said, we're here to gather information. We will watch this. I just remind the Big Swan Lake Association, I think you should go in and visit with the Water and Soil Board. They meet first Thursday? Second Thursday at 8:30, so. Is there anything else? Yes, sir.
I got one comment. I think this is great that we're here. This is the most conversation on this whole subject that I've heard, and it's just good to get everybody together
It is.
and have an understanding. And I don't think the Hollermans are, I think you're good people. Maybe you should stop over for a beer sometime, okay? Seriously, I think if everybody talked and had a better understanding, all this,
It wouldn't
it's
get
good
so
to
blown
meet here,
out.
but we should meet other places. I think everybody has the same goal. I don't
Right.
think,
And everybody needs to get together and just talk about it, and you'll get the results.
I think so.
Yep. So Sean, thank you. Mike, thank you.
Make it work.
Anybody else that wants to make a comment on this?
If you guys have questions, just ask. You're always around, there's somebody around. If you have a question, just ask. We're always available to answer questions.
Yeah, go up and visit.
Don't want something left assumed.
Okay. Alrighty. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
You're free to go unless you want to stay for the rest of the meeting. Obviously, we must not be that exciting.
Work session for next meeting, though, I would like to have a little more update from the soil and water. And just to, I want to see the wheels
get
turning
you.
here,
Yeah,
not
not
just
go
let it sit in the
stagnant.
mud and stop.
Yeah.
Please.
Yep, I'll make sure it's on the next website.
But.
Yep.
Well, that emptied the room fast.
Thank you, Mike.
It's pretty exciting, I know.
Alrighty, ready to continue. County Auditor Treasurer.
First item I have today is to approve the commissioner warrants. Background is sent for your review. Recommendation is to approve the commissioner warrants with an ACH and a manual payment totaling the amount of $75,825.98. It is a budgeted item.
Okay, you've heard the request. Is there a motion, please?
So moved.
Motion by Nazca. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Denny. Discussion. If none, roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Nasca?
Yes.
Commissioner Denny?
Yes.
Commissioner Becker?
Yes.
Commissioner Newman?
Yes.
The next item I have would be the Health and Human Service Commissioner warrants. Again, background is sent for review. Recommendation is to approve the Health and Human Service Commissioner warrants with an ACH and a manual payment totaling the amount of $93,454.21, and it is a budgeted item.
Okay, you've heard the request. Is there a motion, please?
So move.
Motion by Becker. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Denny.
No.
I mean Nazca, sorry. Discussion. If none, roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Becker?
Yes.
Commissioner Nasca?
Yes.
Commissioner Denny?
Yes.
Commissioner Newman?
Yes.
Next item I have would be the Health and Human Service SSIS warrants. Background is sent for review. Recommendation is to approve the Health and Human Service SSIS warrants with an ACH and a manual payment totaling in the amount of $120,859.13, and it is a budgeted item.
Okay, you've heard the request. Is there a motion, please?
So move.
Motion by Danny. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Becker. Discussion. If none, roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Denny?
Yes.
Commissioner Becker?
Yes.
Commissioner Nasca?
Yes.
Commissioner Newman?
Yes.
The last item I have then is the CPT agreement. CPT Professional Services and Hosting Services Agreement. Background, CPT has provided an update to the professional service agreement for consideration, along with the hosting agreement, has also been included as an enhancement to our current service package. If adopted, these agreements will be effective for services through December 31st, 2026. Recommendation is to approve the professional services agreement and hosting agreement with CPT for services through December 31st, 2026, and it is a budgeted item.
Okay, you've heard the request. Is there a motion, please?
So moved.
Motion by Nasca. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Danny. Discussion.
Yes, Randy, I know you've had some recently meetings on this. What's happening with this?
Oh, we got a group together with all the departments within the county to discuss what was going on with CPT and educate both Commissioner Denny and myself a little bit more on how the departments use this. So, Chris, I'll just let you.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So Commissioner Newman had a great idea. Every month, either Commissioner Newman or Commissioner Denny goes to the CPT meeting down in Morris, and I think it's really difficult as a commissioner to understand different things that you might be voting on or different topics that are being discussed if you don't really understand what those topics mean. So Commissioner Newman suggested, as he said, to have an internal CPT user group meeting. We've had 2 of those now. We've had an opportunity to meet with the new executive director of CPT, and he could just share some maybe deeper information about how the organization is operating. Some of the other things that we've reviewed are the professional services agreement, which is something that maybe was lacking in prior leadership with CPT, so that's great to see that. That's kind of what we've been discussing and where they're at.
Right. And, it's 26 counties, 25 counties, and 7 North Dakota counties, and it's a very large undertaking. We just want to continue to serve everybody and make sure everybody's on the same page, so.
The program itself is continuing to work very well, serving-
If I could, Commissioner Newman, I think things are working better than they have, and I think just with some really strong leadership, things will continue to operate well. Yeah, so just really understanding how far they've come with new leadership and where their software packages are at. One of the struggles that they've had and they continue to have is working on the tax rewrite.
Yes.
And that's been going on for a number of years, and we are hopeful that possibly by the end of 2024, that rewrite might be done.
But otherwise, if you look at our budgeting that we get either from solid waste or Denise, it says CPT on top, and that's the programs we're using, and that's a county's owned business, and we're doing okay.
And I would say that probably the auditor's office has the largest amount of software that's being used. So Denise, if you have any input to any of the comments as well.
Yeah, I believe that CPT had some struggles with the last administrator, and so we just had to work through those. We are working through them, and I think by being more vocal as a county and educating Randy and Commissioner Denny, if he goes to the meetings, as to what we need and the struggles we were having, I think it's better communication, and so we're seeing a better output. I have no problems or complaints on any of the packages we use, and like Chris said, I use probably 90% of them for our department for countywide. And so CPT has been fabulous to work with. Programming has been great. What just happened here?
Go ahead and say no.
So, it's just working through the little bugs and things that new leadership takes on. And this, professional service agreement is just one of those. You know, he is trying to update policies there, and this was one of the things that needed to be updated. So, that's why we're bringing it forth today.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, we've had a motion by Nazca, a second by Denny. Any further discussion? If none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, carried. Thank you. Good discussion on that, too. Initiative Foundation. Come on up. Good morning.
Morning, Commissioners. It's a pleasure to be here today. Appreciate a few minutes of your time to give a quick update on the Foundation's activities and our impact here in Todd County. I think you have our most recent contribution request and our county impact sheet also as part of that packet, maybe a little farther down.
No, I don't think so. It's an export action. I
should
just
be-
see this.
That's all right. I can give the updates here. Usually I'd like to get a sheet that's a little more, gives a little more information. But as all of you, I think all of you know, for over 35 years, the Foundation's been working to support economic and community development across 14 counties in rural Minnesota. We aspire to gather community stakeholders together to identify the challenges. There it is. To identify the challenges. No, that's great. Identify the challenges impacting their communities and to, again, form solutions to those challenges. And then we like to help those community members gather resources and grants and deploy those resources to help move those community identified solutions to their next steps. Down at the bottom right-hand corner there, that economic impact section is where I'd like to start. As we gather community members together and we identify those solutions, we deploy grants to help those solutions move forward. And you can see since 1986, we've delivered 612 grants in Todd County, totaling over $3 million. Recent examples of those economic and community development grants are grants in 2022 to the City of Bertha, the City of Staples, and to the Todd County Development Commission to support projects for those organizations. Just a few recent examples. That total, those 612 grants and $3 million, also includes the 10 partner funds that are referenced at the bottom. We do also function as a regional community foundation. We host over 130 charitable funds through which individuals or corporations direct their charitable activity. And recent examples of the grants through those charitable funds, a few of those doing grants in Todd County, Central Minnesota Builders Association, Tools for Schools, Staples Community Foundation, the Black Oak Getty Foundation, and the Artesian Homes Charitable Funds. So total grant making in 2022 alone in Todd County through the Foundation's economic development grants and those grants by our hosted partner funds, 57 grants totaling $527,000 in 2022. We continue to use our revolving loan fund as a resource for the region. We mostly provide gap financing in partnership with local financial institutions. I love to tell stories about how banks will come to us and say, we have this really great project. We know it's really going to be good for this community, but for whatever reason, we're uncomfortable carrying the whole loan. Would the foundation be willing to come in and fill the gap? And we are a community development financial institution certified with the IRS and the Department of Treasury. So we have lending set aside just for projects like that. We're more than happy to come in and fill those needs. We love to see those businesses stay in rural communities and continue to provide jobs and economic activity in some of those rural communities. As you can see in Todd County, we've partnered on 67 loans. Yeah, still in that little economic impact section there. Yep. 67 loans totaling $1.9 million since 1986. Those 67 loans, those projects, have created or retained 909 jobs in Todd County. Recently in Todd County in 2022, we participated in one loan in Todd County, providing $50,000 in financing, impacting, I think, 3 jobs. And we have 2 projects that we're working on in Todd County in 2023. So we're really happy with the performance of the loan fund. We also like to highlight most of these projects then attract additional capital outside the region that's leveraged as a result of those projects. So those 67 loans, 1.9 million in lending, 909 jobs, and over 8.9 million in outside capital brought into the region to support rural communities. We're happy to continue to do that work as well, and are really pleased with how the loan fund has been a significant asset to a lot of our rural communities. Aside from our grant work and our lending work, we continue to provide programming to support the region. A couple of initiatives that we're working on right now. We have our Enterprise Academy program that provides supports for emerging entrepreneurs, specifically entrepreneurs of color and entrepreneurs in our most rural communities. That program has been pretty active in Long Prairie. I think working with the Chamber of Commerce and supporting entrepreneurs, running cohorts to help entrepreneurs build their business skills, and then graduates of those programs do get access to lending pools that we have to help them kickstart those businesses or move their emerging businesses to its next steps. That program is also active in St. Cloud and on the Mille Lacs reservation as well. We're real happy to have trained by the end of 2023, I think a little over 200 entrepreneurs, and most of them have launched businesses in the region. We continue to work on childcare solutions. We see lack of access to affordable childcare as a barrier to attracting and retaining a skilled workforce. We've been fairly active in Todd County. I believe we have provided grants to support preliminary design of 2 childcare centers in Todd County, as well as we provided free CPR training for childcare providers in Todd County, and we continue to work with Central Minnesota Technical and Community College and Central Lakes College, providing grant support and gathering resources. We have secured enough funding to guarantee that anyone going into those institutions wanting to pursue early childhood education will be able to graduate debt-free, so they're in a much better position to launch a childcare center or launch a childcare business. Lastly, I would mention we continue to work with DEED and their Main Street Economic Revitalization Program. Long Prairie was selected as one of the communities to receive funding to support revitalization of the economic corridor. The most recent update I have there, Long Prairie was allocated $493,000. I think most of those economic revitalization projects are in process or may even be complete. And of course, that's just a 30% match, of the entire project. But we expect maybe the total economic impact to be around 1.1 million in downtown Long Prairie. And so we're happy to have seen that program come through DEED, and we keep kind of lobbying DEED for a little more support in that direction. And we're happy to say that our president has recently resigned to go be the DEED commissioner. So it's happy to know that the DEED commissioner lives in Rice, Minnesota, and has his eyes set on rural Minnesota and our needs. So we're excited about the future. Just in conclusion, I would just leave you with one last story. We pride ourselves in being able to attract external resources, bring them into the region, and put them to work. Recently, or in 2022, I was approached by a large foundation that asked us if we would be willing to take on about $2 million in emergency business relief loans. To which we responded back and said we didn't feel like any of our businesses in the region needed more emergency loans. Everybody was pretty distressed. We felt like what would be the best resource for our region would be more emergency business relief grants. And typically when a funder's asking you if you'd like a couple $1 million, you don't reply back and say, no, we actually would like this. But in this case, we did. And so I replied back to that funder and said, we really believe our businesses need grants. This is what would serve our region best. We'd like to ask that you release these funds to us to be used as business relief grants, not loans. And they asked me if I could show broad regional support for the work we do. Could I demonstrate support? I sent them a list of our community builders and also a list of our 14 counties and about 140 cities that make annual contributions to support the work. And they looked over that list and then replied back to me and said, we can see you have broad support for the work you do, so please take this $2 million and deploy it in the region as emergency business relief grants. You'll see many of those $10,000 grants and other grants, Central Minnesota Emergency Relief and Recovery grants, in your project list. I just highlight it as a great example of our commitment to go outside the region and find resources and bring them into the region and put them to work. Similarly, we worked with another local foundation, and we asked them if we could deploy some of their dollars to support nonprofits that we felt had been left out of a lot of the COVID emergency relief funding. They initially didn't want to do that, but we persuaded them that this was good work and needed to be done in the region. So they gave us an award and allowed us to make what we call transformative grants to nonprofits. Normally, we might support nonprofits with a $5,000 or $7,000 grant. As a result of our work reaching out to this foundation and bringing these funds in, we were able to award what we call transformative grants in the amounts of $50,000, $60,000, $70,000, $80,000. One of those grants went to the, I believe it's the Hands of Hope Center here in Todd County. They received an $80,000 grant, consultant support to identify needs in their organization, and again, received that significant investment to really help them move things forward. So we're happy to do the work we do and provide grants and lending, and also we remain committed to go outside the region, find that funding from outside central Minnesota, bring it in here, and put it to work to really move things forward. Again, I'd like to say thank you for your annual support for our work. It does make a difference. Not only do we put it to work directly, but again, I often leverage the list of supporters and say, we have strong support from our counties and cities for what we do, and leverage that to funders to try and convince them to release more funds into the region. Last thing I'd highlight is right in that same economic impact corner is that return on investment number. For every dollar we've collected in Todd County, we've been happy to reinvest back into Todd County. $2.55 is kind of the just a general return on investment number to kind of encapsulate how we put your support to work. So again, thank you for your support, and with that, I'd be happy to take any questions. I believe you have our new funding request that's here. It's for $7,500 for an annual contribution. Happy to take any questions.
Well, thank you. Any questions? No?
It was very, very good, very nice that you were able to translate that loan into the grants for this area.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
That helped.
yeah.
Yeah. Any other questions? If none, who wants to read the board action? Denise?
Mr. Chair, I have a board action this morning for the Initiative Foundation annual contribution. The background is the Todd County Board of Commissioners have budgeted for an annual contribution to the Initiative Foundation in past budget years. The Initiative Foundation is requesting confirmation on whether the contribution will be continued for the 2024 budget year with a requested allocation amount of $7,500. The options are to approve the annual contribution of $7,500 for Initiative Foundation for the 2024 budget year, or to not approve, and the recommendation is to approve.
Okay, you've heard the request. Is there a motion, please?
So,
Motion by Danny. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Becker. Discussion? If none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
thank you very much.
Thank you. Todd County HRA. Good morning, Kim.
Good morning. I'm Kim Wallace. I'm the Executive Director of the Todd County HRA. I gave you some information, but I'm just going to kind of summarize what I gave you as well. And Lou comes to all of our meetings. It's kind of nice to have him there, and so then I can field questions to him too about what you guys are doing. So we run several different programs. Our biggest program is the Housing Choice Voucher Rental Assistance Program. Our current year budget is $740,475. We currently have 141 people on the program for rental assistance, and we're trying to get up to 156. And then we'll be at our full budget for the year. That's not something that we have any control of. The federal government decides that and then tells us what we have, and then we get to spend that. And we received, I think we got like quite a bit, a big jump. I didn't write that one down, but we had a big jump from last year. What we got last year, I think we got $650 in funding. Anyway, so that's our main program. So we assist people where they go find their own rental unit, and we pay up to 40%. They pay up to 40% of their income towards rent, and we subsidize the rest. We also have the mainstream voucher program, and that's for non-elderly disabled people. And so the head of household has to be not elderly disabled, and then we will subsidize their rent in a unit that they find. We have, the Todd County HRA owns Sunrose Courts Apartments. It's 18 units of public housing, so they pay 30% of their income towards rent. The HRA bought Hillside Apartments in Browerville, and we have 23 units currently, and we have 30 people on our waiting list. We also have Bertha Manor, and it is a USDA 515 building, and it has 16 units, and they're always rented as well. And we have, I think there's 30 people on the waiting list for that as well. And that's the building that we are doing, and we applied for RRDL loan through Minnesota Housing, and we just closed on the loan in April. It took over a year to close. It was wonderful. And we are just starting to be able to replace the windows and some cement work and some electrical work. That's just gonna be starting this month. We also have a management agreement with Prairie View Manor along Prairie HRA, and that's 40 units. Those are all rented as well. There's 33 people on the waiting list there. So currently, Todd County HRA is subsidizing 287 households through different programs. I provided some demographics that are in there, in your report, and then in 2022, there were $1,065,498 in spending from federal dollars, and for 2023, it's projected to be $1,139,177,000 in federal funding that will be spent in Todd County for rental assistance. And then I don't know if you guys have heard, but Minnesota passed a new state-funded voucher program, which should start sometime in 2024. I don't know how many vouchers we'll get in Todd County, but it goes by how many people you have that are below 30% of the average median income, and we have quite a few of them. So we may get quite a few of those vouchers. And I do still have vacancies on my board for commissioners. However, District 5, I have somebody coming to my next meeting to see if she wants to do it. I'm pretty sure she's pretty excited about it. So,
Okay.
Lou, you're the only one I have left.
I know, I've been looking.
That's all I got. I never know what kind of information you kind of want, so I just kind of give you what I think you would want. That's all I got.
Great. I'm just hoping it's the person I text the other day and ask her, so
Would the initials be VT?
I think so.
Okay.
Okay. Right.
Mr. Chair, if I could just add additional information, we did just do a Facebook post with the request for District 4 and District 5.
Okay.
Representations.
Thank you.
Yep.
Advertised in the paper a couple of times too, so it's not like I've been not trying to
True.
find somebody, but
Great. So is there any other questions for Kim? None?
Kim, Mr. Chair, if I could, Kim, few years ago, we visited, and you said a lot of our vouchers, they would get them from Todd County, and then if they moved, the voucher would go with them?
yep, they
Is
can do it.
that still the case?
Oh, yeah.
It is.
Yes, they can get a voucher in Todd County and they can port it out. Currently, I have 2 that are ported out. One is to St. Cloud and one is to Orlando, Florida.
Okay.
But I'm still, not I, Todd County HRA is still paying for those vouchers in those counties. And we're kind of lucky that it's only 2.
I was gonna say, the number is real low, which is really good.
Yeah, because some agencies, it's 25% or more. And then like a small county like ours, the payment standards like in Orlando, it'd be like 3 times. We could get 3 clients on for the price of the one that they're getting there, so.
And is that state or federal law that,
It's federal,
it is federal that mandates that? Okay.
yes, yep. I have no control over it.
Wow. Any other questions for Kim? If none, thank you for the update.
Yeah.
Perfect,
Thanks,
quick and
Kim.
easy. And I'm not asking for money.
Todd County Historical Society.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Jerry Ruda, D. Aberly, who is the director of the Todd County Historical Society Museum. Gary Strasik, who is president of the society, and I am the treasurer. And we're here this morning to present a proposal for the 2024 budget. First item of business is we want to thank this board and previous boards for the tremendous support you have given to the society over the past several years. Without that, if we had to rely just on donations, admissions, memberships, we couldn't do it. So thank you. And we are a county-wide historical society. We encourage and invite and welcome members from all corners of the county. And I believe we do have members from every section of the county. We want to continue that effort. Now, even though the museum is located in Long Prairie, the displays, the resources are countywide in perspective. We house microfilms from the Staples World, the Eagle Bend Clarissa Independent News Herald, the Long Prairie Leader, and we continue to add to that collection all the time. And we also have a kind of a morbid thought for a Tuesday morning, but we have the obituary list for almost everyone who has passed away in Todd County over the years. So we are a countywide resource. And I don't know, how many of you have been to the museum here at 333 Central Avenue? All right. Okay. Well, we invite the rest of you to please come and see what we have to offer. We're more than a museum. We have some fascinating displays, I think. How many of you got into the Historical Society building out at the fair this past week?
Didn't make the fair.
It wasn't open.
Well, I'm going to say you missed it, but anyway. We try to provide the typical museum services, but we also have a tremendous resource center. As I mentioned, the newspapers on microfilm. We have the county school histories. We have family histories. We have files on several businesses throughout the county. We have that obituary list. And we have several books that have been written about a part of or about Todd County. And these are all available to anyone, whether they live in Todd County or elsewhere, to come and to use as a research source. And we want to continue and keep expanding that part of the services we render. In addition to that, of course, like any organization, we have needs. Things get older, they don't function anymore. We are in need of a copier. The one we have requires a lot of tender, loving care and a few expletives as you try to run off multiple copies of anything. The computer we're using is at least 12, maybe 13 years old. You know, the county, I think, turns their computers around every 5 years. You can imagine how slow and antiquated this one is. And we continue to work towards adding a staff person. Dee does a phenomenal job, but she needs help. And there is so much research, there's so much filing, so many things that need to be done. She has a hard time doing it in the allotted amount of time we give her. So those are the three key needs that we have. In terms of request, in the past, since 2006, the county has allocated $8,500 to the Historical Society. Last year, we came to you and we were given $6,500 in the American Recovery Act funds. And we're asking for the $15,000 from sources or a source for the coming year. If on the back side of this sheet of paper you'll look, this is the June financial statement. And it gives you an indication of where we get our income from memberships, donations, research, and of course from Todd County. Miscellaneous, we have some books that we sell, and a variety of things that come in. We had our plant sale a month ago. Things of this sort. And if you look at the year-to-date, that accounts for the funding that we operate from. Checks written is probably immaterial. Our expense categories: wages and withholding, telephone, copier, memorials, pest control, miscellaneous buying supplies, and then it costs, we hire someone to do our accounting for tax purposes and postage. We've tried to be very good stewards of the money the county has provided as well as for the money that has been donated. And hopefully we have been that, or met the requirements of that stewardship. So if you have any questions, the three of us would be happy to try to answer them for you. We are requesting $15,000 for the 2024 budget.
Okay. Questions from the board? I'm just writing down. So your hours are 11:30 to 4 p.m.?
For
Yep.
Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Yep.
And for those of you who have not been to the museum, you are heartily encouraged to come.
Mm-hmm.
And if those hours don't meet the needs, if you put in a request, we can make sure that the museum is available. There's a lot of stuff over there. And it does have some real historic significance, so.
Okay.
If not, we thank you so very much. We thank you for your time this morning. We thank you for whatever time it's going to take you to put the 2024 budget together. So,
Okay.
and with that, Gary Strasek has a special request about the fairgrounds.
Oh, okay.
As you, excuse me, as you probably know, the lay of the land there, the ground all slopes to the west. Our building is on the west. And it's ground level entry where our floor is. So every time we have a deluge of rain, it runs right through our building. Or in a spring thaw is another problem. And what I'm hoping for is someone to put a very shallow ditch in front of the thing, in front of the building, and funnel all the water to the north side, and it'll run to the west then. It would only have to be about 6 inches deep to accomplish this. So that would be really helpful, because it is a real mess when that water runs through a building, because it's not only water, it's dirt and grass, and it takes a big cleanup time to fix it. As a matter of fact, we've also lost a few artifacts because of the flood, because at one time it was over 2 inches deep in there. So I thank you for your time, and that's
Okay.
my request.
And we will bring that forward to the facilities
Facilities.
on July 26th. So we'll discuss that for you guys and see if we can resolve that. Chris, would you like to read the board action, please?
Mr. Chair, so this is, today is just for discussion. So
Okay.
we won't have to take action today. The purpose of that was just to give a little bit of time to really take that into consideration, what their request is. So we'll be coming back with a board action.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Ditch inspector.
I'm presenting for her.
Okay.
So her board action today is to acknowledge receipt County Ditch 29 whole harmless agreement ditch maintenance. Background is she has the whole harmless agreement attached and aerial photos. And she's recommending that the Todd County Board of Commissioners approves the following by motion. Acting as ditch authority, acknowledgement receipt of whole harmless agreement petition to clean out the section of County Ditch 29 on parcel 0700286000 in Eagle Valley Township. I believe it's from Tyler Becker. And then her map will show
Is there an orange?
this orange section here that
Okay.
he's cleaning out.
So is he gonna clean out alongside the road? In the ditch?
Looks like road ditch, some of that, doesn't it?
Mhm.
Yeah.
And maybe she highlighted that in error too. She didn't explain it to me. She just asked me to read it.
Okay. Okay, you've heard the request. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Nazca. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Danny. Discussion. If none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you. All right. Let's move on. Public Works. Warren.
Our one item on the agenda this morning for Public Works is a request for final payment authorization for our 2023 dust control. Our options for this are to approve or do not approve the attached resolution, and I guess our recommendation this time is to approve the resolution making final payment to Knife River Corporation for $7,801.87.
Okay. Deferred to request. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Danny. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Becker. Discussion.
Yes, I could. Mr. Chair, Lauren, at the road meeting this spring, you talked about some roads not being able to have dust control on them because of the cost. How did that turn out?
So if we want to look at the attachment to that, right there you'll see the original contract was $183,000. And I can't remember exactly, but I think our budget amount was $160,000. So what we did is we worked with the contractor, and instead of applying a application rate of 0.3 gallons per square yard, we did a 0.27 gallons per square yard, which is a little less than recommended, but some of these roads have been applied for numerous years, so there's some residual effect to that. Wasn't a perfect solution, but at least we were able to apply some dust control on all the ones that we intended to do. So we basically fit the project to the budget.
Okay.
Yep,
Good.
a great question.
I know that if you miss years in a row, whatever, you kind of lose.
You lose a little bit, but with this year's cost increase, we felt that we could pull it back a little bit, but still accomplish the majority of what we wanted to do with this project.
Right. Perfect. Any other discussion? If none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Carried. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Sheriff Allen.
I've got a call I'm gonna run to after this, if that's all right.
Okay.
Only thing I have on the agenda today is hiring a full-time deputy for the open position. Background is request to hire Tyler Schwartz, who's a part-time deputy, and promote him to a full-time deputy position, start date to be determined. An interview process was completed, and Tyler Schwartz was selected to be the best candidate for the position. We're requesting Deputy Schwartz pay start at grade 10, step 2, $28.48 an hour. The option is to hire Deputy Schwartz full-time or not to hire, and our recommendation is to hire Tyler Schwartz as a full-time deputy, pay grade 10, step 2, at $28.48 an hour, with a date to be determined to start.
Okay. You've heard the sheriff's request. Is there a motion? So moved. Tight there. Ooh.
Oh.
Give it to him.
I can take second.
So, any further discussion? If none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Planning and zoning.
All right. Good morning.
Morning.
My first item this morning is the DeSmith Edition preliminary plat. This application is to establish one lot preliminary plat on parcel 0300093900 in Birchdale Township. This was submitted on April 24th. It was reviewed by the Planning Commission during the July 6th meeting, and the final recommendation from the Planning Commission was to approve this preliminary plat with no conditions. Options are to approve with those no conditions, deny, or remand it back to the Planning Commission. Recommendation is to adopt the findings of the Planning Commission and approve the preliminary plat as presented with no conditions. The other supporting documentation is there with it, including the preliminary plat and site location.
Okay. You've heard the request. Is there a motion, please?
So moved.
Motion by Denny. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Noska. Discussion. If none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
All right, Kroll's first edition preliminary plat, an application to establish two-lot preliminary plat, parcel 06004510, Burnhamville Township, was submitted May 31st. It was reviewed by the Planning Commission during the July 6th meeting, and the final recommendation from the Planning Commission was to approve this preliminary plat with no conditions. Option are to approve the preliminary plat with no conditions, deny the preliminary plat, or remand it back. And the recommendation is to adopt the findings of the Planning Commission and approve the preliminary plat as presented with no conditions. This one is about 15.5 acres split into two lots, so two large lots. One of them is already established building site. The other one is where they are looking to build a new home pending approval.
Okay, you've heard the request. Is there a motion, please?
So move.
Motion by Becker. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Denny. Discussion. If none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Moving along is Cheetah Estates preliminary plat, an application to establish two-lot preliminary plat on parcel 14-00-14901, Kendota Township, submitted on June 12th, reviewed by the Planning Commission during the July 6th public hearing, and the final recommendation was to approve the preliminary plat with conditions. Options are to approve the preliminary plat with those conditions, deny the preliminary plat, or remand it back. The recommendation is to adopt the findings of the Planning Commission, approve the preliminary plat as presented with the following conditions. 1, that all new accesses must be approved by the road authority, and 2, that accesses shall only be connected to Aclea Drive and no accesses shall be allowed via US Highway 71.
Okay. Any further requests? Is there a motion, please?
So moved.
Motion by Noska. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Denny. Discussion. If none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
All right, and lastly is the Amon C. Hirschberger request for CUP. A request for CUP for production of deer stands with retail sales on parcel 20-00214-00 Reynolds Township was submitted on June 9th, reviewed by the Planning Commission during the July 6th meeting, and the final recommendation from the Planning Commission was to grant the CUP with the conditions below. Options are to grant the CUP with conditions, deny the CUP, or remand it back to the Planning Commission. Recommendation is to adopt the findings of the Planning Commission and grant the CUP with the following conditions. 1, should be no loading or unloading materials within the public roadway. 2, off-street parking shall be provided for all business traffic. 3, storage of supplies and finished products shall be stored meeting all setback requirements. 4, land use permits shall be required for all future construction. And 5, that the applicant must abide by all their applicable federal, state, and local standards.
Okay, you've heard the request. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Denny. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Becker. Discussion. I do have one question on the conditions. Who's ever following up on them? You know, we throw these conditions on, part of the ordinance and stuff.
Right.
Who follows up on them?
Our office is responsible for following up on them. We certainly follow up on complaints. We don't have a systematic approach to following up on the CUPs. We just simply don't have enough staff to do that.
Okay.
So we follow up on them. If we're out at one site, happen to see it at another, we'll follow up on it upon call-ins, requests to review these things. But to systematically follow up on them is just, I don't know how we would do that in our current state of staff.
So if somebody calls in and complains on a condition, if somebody got a CUP, then you go out and address it.
Right. Yep.
Okay.
We listen to the complaint, get the location, and then try to schedule a time or go out there and look at it. If there's other departments that maybe we work close with HHS on some of these things, we'll kind of do a unified approach to make sure we get these things addressed.
Okay. All right. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Health and Human Services.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. We have a couple board action forms here to present for you today for some discussion. All right, the first one is the opioid settlement funding proposal, naloxone distribution and communication plan. Some background. The Todd County Opioid Settlement Advisory Council met on June 21st, 2023, and reviewed the attached funding request and approved the project for funding. The request would aid in the distribution and appropriate use of naloxone in reducing the risk of overdose-related deaths in Todd County while simultaneously using a communication plan to reduce the stigma of naloxone use and opioid overdoses. Your options are to approve the opioid settlement funding request or to not approve. It's our recommendation that you approve the opioid settlement request for naloxone distribution and communication plan. Catherine, do you want to add anything on that?
No, the advisory council met. This was a discussion we'd had for a while. There is naloxone available at 4 different access points across Todd County, 2 Lakewood clinics, Better Days Treatment Center, and Wellness in the Woods. That's for anyone free of charge. This would be more focused on training our county staff to have naloxone available for client visits. So probation, social workers, nurses, those who come in contact with some of our high-risk clients, so that they'd be able to assist those clients if this were ever the case. So I think this is a good opportunity for us to ensure that all our staff are aware of what it looks like when someone's overdosing and then how to treat them appropriately. As you know, our sheriff's office has this available already, but I think we have other opportunities to kind of ensure all of our staff are trained and able to respond.
Okay. You've heard a request. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Danny. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Nazca. Discussion. If none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is the opioid settlement annual meeting invitation. The opioid settlement requires an annual meeting to be held with local municipalities each year to receive input as to the proposed uses of the opioid settlement funds and to encourage collaboration. The 2023 annual meeting will be held August 1st at 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. at the Todd County Boardroom. Your recommendation is to approve setting
just
the
an
date.
information
pretty much.
item.
Okay.
Actually.
Is there a motion to that? We don't need to prove it?
It's just information,
Well,
I guess.
it's an invitation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the
But-
checkbox is just information only, so no
Right.
action is taken.
More than 3 commissioners. Yeah.
Posted.
Yeah.
Perfect, thank you.
Alrighty. Thanks.
Thank you.
Did you want me to stay?
Let's see August 1st. Alrighty, administration.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This morning we have a memorandum of agreement for a pay adjustment for Gwen Berry. The background is on June 6th of 2023, a decision was made to eliminate the home care program. Due to this change, the grade 11 RN lead position within home care held by Gwen Berry will be eliminated on or before September 1st, 2023, as transitioning continues to take place. There is a mutual desire to transfer all union employees from the home care program being eliminated without loss of pay or benefits and without undue conflict between the county and the union under the unusual circumstances noted with this change. Gwen Berry has applied for the open RN care coordinator position, which is a grade 10. The Personnel Committee recommends approving the attached MOA, allowing Gwen Berry to move into the open RN care coordinator position at her current rate of pay, frozen until the grade 10 pay scale catches up with her, at which time her pay will correspond with the other grade 10 RN positions. So the options are to approve the attached MOA allowing Gwen Berry to move into the open RN care coordinator position at her current rate of pay, frozen until the grade 10 pay scale catches up with her, at which time her pay will correspond with the other grade 10 RN positions, or to not approve, and the recommendation is to approve.
Okay, you've heard the request. Is there a motion, please?
So moved.
Motion by Nazca. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Danny. Discussion? If none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Thank you. The next item that we have on the agenda is to appoint Care Coordinator RN Gwen Berry. So the background is due to a resignation, a Care Coordinator RN position is vacant. It is recommended to appoint internal applicant Gwen Berry to fill this position. The options are to approve internal applicant Gwen Berry RN to fill the open Care Coordinator RN position, grade 10, start date to be determined, or to not approve, and the recommendation is to approve.
Okay, you've heard the request. Is there a motion?
So move.
Motion by Becker. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Danny. Discussion? If none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Thank you. And the last board action that I have is to adopt change to Personnel Policy, Article 5, Section 5.01, salaries elected and appointed department heads. So the background for this is the current personnel policy requires the board to set salaries for elected and appointed department heads in December of each year. In an effort to better align the budget process with setting elected and appointed department head salaries, the personnel policy needs to be updated. So the options are to adopt the resolution with changes to Article 5, Section 5.01 salaries, elected and appointed department heads, or to not adopt, and the recommendation is to adopt.
Okay, you've heard the request. Is there a motion, please?
So moved.
Motion by Denny. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Nazca. Discussion.
Randy, I've heard some conversation. How does this actually work and how is it going to go forward? Some discussion on being it set before the elected official comes up for re-election and so forth.
Well, we'll still have to set that in December. Okay.
Okay,
That would have to be set because they're new.
okay,
Okay, if it's an incumbent, we wouldn't have to deal with it.
okay. So you only,
Only newly elected positions
okay.
would have to be set by the board. So,
And you said you've had other counties that have done it this way?
Douglas County has did it for years, in August, and what it does, it helps when you set the levy. So you get the elected, official salary set when you're setting the preliminary levy. You don't have to argue it in December at the last meeting of the year where it can get a little feisty. So this way here, it's already set. We go into get the preliminary set, and then when we do the final budget in the end of the year, we're all done. We don't have to come back and readjust and say, well, you know, we go from, you know, a $5,000 raise to a $10,000 raise, and this way here, we can hash it out before we set the preliminary, get it over with, move forward.
Have you heard from any of the other elected officials? I think that they were all notified this change was coming.
Yes. Yep, and I'll be honest with you, I did have a conversation, and there was some concern, but if you don't have any public outcry going, you know, God, they're doing a shitty job, you know, you don't have that. They're doing a good job. So, yeah, we might have to go into like last December's report and see what their stats were in December to set their salary. But once we get going, it'll work. Everything will work out.
Mr. Chair, if I could just add, I do want to thank John, County Attorney, for assisting with some of this language. For such a small paragraph, we really worked this one over just to make sure that we were covering incumbent versus newly elected.
Yep.
Yeah, so thank you, John, for that.
Yeah, thank you. Any other discussion on that? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Carried, thank you. All right, and then at this time, closed session for property consideration. The commissioners will hold a closed session pursuant to Minnesota statute, section 13D.05, subdivision 3C3, to develop or consider offers or counter offers for the purchase or sale of real or personal property. And I ask for a motion to go into closed session.
So moved.
Motion by Becker, second by Denny. Any discussion? If none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. We are in closed session at 10:28. Okay, you ready? All right, I'll entertain a motion to reopen the county board meeting at this time.
Moved.
Motion by Denny, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Nazca. Discussion? If none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried, reopen at 10:54. Okay. And with that, we're gonna go right into standing reports, auditor treasurer.
Currently, I just wanted to be everybody aware that absentee voting has fully opened for the Commissioner District Number 3 seat. So if anybody's interested, they can reach out to our office or even come up and vote. And then also, email was sent that I will need 2 volunteers from commissioners for the canvassing of the August 8th and election, and that will be done August 11th. And then also keep in mind that I'll need 2 commissioners for canvassing the November election, and that date is yet to be set, but keep your calendars open if somebody can volunteer to do that.
I'm
It
sure
won't
we're,
be as, I mean, it's not gonna be real tedious because it's only 1 district, but it is gonna be old school way where we're gonna be adding things up and counting because it's not on the state system.
okay,
So we're not gonna have the computerized papers where we just go.
cool.
Wanted to make you aware of that. That's all I have.
All right. County attorney.
Nothing new to report. I will be absent from the next meeting on vacation with my family, but I'll be thinking of you.
Enjoy your vacation.
Thank you.
Commissioners report. Commissioner Denny.
Nothing new besides just, really wanted to bring to the board was, we had our Todd County Solid Waste meeting. We had an update, from Mike and, Chris McCon. It was nice to know about, Mike showed pictures of the old facility, what they've done to it. They renovated it. Looks incredible. And then Chris kind of gave updates on our, where we're at with the designers and, this is about as slow as molasses process moving forward, and Coordinator Pelsner has been staying on top of it and pushing and kind of making sure we're going the right direction, and we are going in the right direction. It's just slow at the time, but all of our ducks in a row. We're just waiting right now. Other than that, took in a few of the town days events and grabbed the day at the fair. They did a very nice job setting up. It's such a nice, well-organized fair. So proud of the county for and all the efforts, the Ag Society, everybody else that was involved, setting that up and making that available for everybody. So.
Okay. Mr. Becker?
Yes, we had a personnel meeting. We met with the wellness committee, kind of setting up for our employee picnic coming up in August. Department head meeting, facility meeting. We had soil and water. I had Rainbow Rider and a personnel meeting. Also attended the county fair on Saturday morning and watched the open dairy show going on. It was very, very good to see so many kids, so many animals, such enthusiastic about being there. It was very, very good to see. So thank you for all the work that the people did at the fair.
Yeah, Commissioner Nazca?
Yeah, not a ton, I guess, from the last meeting. I had 1 meeting canceled, so that was a break I got. But we had on the 10th, we had the Development Corporation, and we discussed our comprehensive plan and the 2024 vision moving forward. I took a few days off and got to go fishing last weekend, so that was nice. It was nice being up in Door County, Wisconsin. Caught some salmon, had a good time. So nice to get. Now I'm back in the grind. So that's all I have.
Okay, great. I had water and soil meeting also, along with, we had personnel meetings. Solid waste, we are trying to get that moving forward a little quicker. I think Chris McCon is doing everything he can. Right now it's sitting at the MPCA office down in, I believe, the cities. So, and they said they could take up to, what was that, Chris, 6 weeks, something like that? Or 6 months? I don't know.
Mr. Chair, I believe it was 150 days.
And it's like, so that's kind of keeping us in limbo. The covering for the, dump out there, again, that's also up in the air until we can get, more engineering done and put it out for bids. So until, that's kind of holding us up for ARPA funds, you know, and it's, yeah. Mitch did let us know at the department head meeting that they're gonna be doing one section of the Justice Center roof over here to move the, is it the radio? So they're gonna, do the one, I think, northwest corner of that, and then move the communications over in that corner so they can start stripping everything off the other part of the roof. So, they figured they should be starting on that roof, I think, in the next couple of weeks. What else? I did bring up to the other department heads that, the county board is probably gonna look at $1 million worth of cuts, in the budget. So we gotta sharpen our pencils and move that forward. Otherwise, it's been busy, a lot of meetings. Hopefully the election will, get through and we'll get another commissioner in place of Commissioner Erickson. And I do miss Commissioner Erickson's knowledge as far as the budget. So, with that, that's all I have. So, coordinators report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I won't bore you with details on some of the same exact committees that I've been at
can take a note. Tell me what I need to take notes on.
If they have any specific
Hello. Waiting for Commissioner Backer.
I mean, for when I want to switch.
Right.
It says, press here to begin.
Ready? All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Tuesday, July 18, 2023 Todd County Board of Commissioners work session. First on the agenda today is water and soil on tree planter. Dacia and Adam.
So I'll give you a little background first, and Deja's going to have some more information, but we have plans of getting a tree planter through a grant structured with DNR. However, the Soil and Water Conservation District, being co-located or a part of the county, doesn't own the equipment. So ultimately the county is going to end up owning the tree planter. And I know that the board had questions or something about the whole process, so we're here to either answer questions or take your questions and get you answers.
Yeah.
Any other information we can give? Go ahead.
And just to add on to that, I don't want to make it sound like you are being forced to own a tree planter. That's why we're here. Do you want to own a tree planter? So the grant is, every SWCD is offered a tree planter to encourage the planting of trees locally, as opposed to having it always be a barrier for people to be able to acquire one that's on consistent use during the tree planting season. So we've kind of talked about it with the SWCD board. They were a little hesitant at first because they see the value in it, but they were concerned about maintenance and all those things. And then we talked briefly with Chris Pelzer about, some options. And if we can come up with a county, or if you entertain this at all, some sort of rental agreement where the county is protected, then we would be willing to facilitate as far as the getting them to sign the agreement and to work through all that paperwork end of it, as coordinate the use of it. So really it comes down to you guys, and then whatever questions you have, and we kind of tied John into this because I have no idea, normally when you guys buy equipment, how does that work? So.
Okay. Questions?
I guess the question I'd have is, where do we put the thing?
Yep, and we've kind of talked about that too. There potentially, it could be housed in the off season back at the DNR. I question that if we a lot for it, or we'd have to find a, you know, do we reach out to Lauren Feldbaum? Does he have space for it? I don't know. But we could, for the long term, store it back at the DNR when it's, like, there's usually some planting season pretty heavy in the spring, but they're also learning now that fall tree planting is equally successful. So we might have some where we might bring it back.
Our
for fall.
Ag Society, we do rent out that, the Prairie building for people storing boats and RVs and things like that too. So that might be an option to keep it on county property.
Okay.
You know, I mean, just throwing it out there because
Yeah.
someone rents it. I don't know how often they turn over an open spot, but there may be space there.
So that's at
the Prairie building at the fairgrounds.
Okay.
And then it would be, you know, accessible. I mean, the only time you'd really need to be out of there is during the fair or when there's events at that building.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Winter might be tough, just out there, you and I were in this building, it was winter, and there was, unless someone pulled out, but even in the summer and fall, it'd be nice just to have it there, though, I agree with you.
Yeah, but if somebody didn't want to come back,
Absolutely.
maybe there's an open spot, you could sneak it in and just pay a rental to them, just like everyone else does.
Right.
So my question is it a pull type or a 3-point hitch type?
We've kind of talked about that, and I think Adam was at the last meeting or whenever, and they decided that the pull type would be best. Originally, I was thinking 3-point hitch, because in my head that's what we have, but it seems like it'd be more uniform for people to be able to use it if it's a pull type.
The pull type is easier to transport, you don't need another trailer to haul.
I'm anticipating as forestry gets pushed a little bit more. We have not done forestry as an SWCD for over a decade probably, but as we push it more, that this would be an increased request.
Okay.
And it would just put our landowners on a more equitable, basis with other counties and other SWCD regions. But ultimately, again, we'll operate it the way that the county asks us to operate it. We also can ungift it too, and decide we don't want it if we find out that we don't like working it or
We can get
whatever.
it back, is what you're saying.
Yeah, yeah.
So where's the supervisor sit on this?
What they have said is they don't want us doing anything more than running paperwork basically for landowners and that sort of thing because of the capacity reasons for it. They're okay with us, getting an planter, but again, it's just the capacity issues that they have where we're not going to go out and start planting trees. When I talk to the foresters in the area, they're like, it'd really help us if you guys would go out and plant trees. I'm like, that would be nice, but we don't have the staffing to do that.
Any idea on the cost?
They're giving us, I think it's $12,000. Each one is $12,000 roughly. Is that right?
I don't recall.
Yeah,
no.
I think it's 12.
So then there would be no additional cost to the county. It would all be absorbed and you would take care of all the financing part of it?
That already comes through the DNR and all that. So there wouldn't be any costs except for whatever insurance if you'd add it.
And for repairs, if it does need
maintenance.
repairs, is it
Yep.
going to be a cost that's the soil and water takes care of, or would that be something the county would have to take care of?
Well, maintenance right now per our agreement on equipment would be just like a vehicle.
Let come back to the county.
It would. What we're trying to do, or what some of our ideas were when talking with Chris too, is like asking up front that we want, a check for $400 or $500 or whatever, just like you would if you were renting another piece of equipment, and then going back and making sure that there is, no significant damage to that piece of equipment, then paying back their check after.
Okay. So it would be no cost to the person using it other than
Like a damage
a
deposit.
security deposit.
We can do it that way, or if you guys
Or
want a
not,
cost, we
or-
could do a cost too. Yep,
What's the normal? I guess I'm asking.
for
For-
processes.
Yeah.
I do
you
think they
usually
do
charge
pay.
for it?
Yeah, I do think
Yeah.
most SWCDs charge.
Yeah.
On
most
top of
do.
that.
We haven't had a tree planter since I've been in, but in Pipestone, we did it for them. So we just charged it per tree and all inclusive of what that was. I know other counties maybe have an hourly or a daily rate for renting equipment, things of that nature.
But then that security deposit would be requested on top of that.
Yep.
I just, Mr. Chair, if I could, I just know that when they had the no-till drill, and that was over, held by soil and water, or, they actually ended up getting rid of that because of the time it took from the employees running back and forth, or,
Yeah, because they were delivering it. And so
Yeah.
we would not be delivering this, and we would not be maintaining it. So if they hadn't, we found something wrong, a bolt was missing or whatever, then that would be on the landowner. The other option that could come up too is the grant, what's his name, Lindbergh Eckela, had said that we could also choose to hire like a consultant to manage this for us as well. But that would potentially come as a fee. I know we've had a soil and water supervisor talk about too, even like possible storage or different things like that. So there's other options out there if the county decided that they weren't comfortable housing it, or they weren't comfortable with the maintenance piece, but we just have to look at.
I think as far as county, it would really be hard for us, for a maintenance part of equipment, who would even,
Well, and, yeah.
the
Yeah.
maintenance of it, yeah.
And that's where we would ask,
Over.
to review it, or to look at the piece of equipment, yeah. I think we would take that as a staff to like at least oversee and see what's wrong with it. But as far as the maintenance, my expectation would be if there was something wrong, that the cost would go to the person who's renting it.
Soil and water would take care of that.
We could order it, I guess, unless Denise would prefer. We could say, hey, yep, we noticed this bolt's missing. I mean, I don't know how you, yeah. We're just discussing at this point, so you would you dictate to us what it is, and then we would decide whether that responsibility is worth our while or whatever. But that's where I think we're at right now, is you guys would kind of dictate what it is that you would expect as owners of this piece of property, of how you'd want us to handle it. And then we can go back to the board again and say, hey, now they're saying you guys have to do this, this, and this. Do you still want to pursue this?
Mr. Chair, if I can, and then also keep in mind, if you would decide as a board to go through with this, that Adam, then you would make sure and get the cost on the fee schedule when we have that meeting.
Oh, sure. For rental of it.
Yeah,
Yep.
because you wouldn't have that on our current fee schedule.
So I'm having flashbacks of solid waste roll-offs. Okay? And seeing $16,000 a month, every month, out on the books. Some of it goes back to 2018. Okay? Is there anybody in the private sector that you guys could get that would buy one of these, that would lease it back to you?
Buy it or get
They would
it,
own
or-
it, but they would lease it to you.
Nobody comes to mind. I mean, I don't know. We never asked.
Because I'm just looking at this as a nightmare of, where is it? Okay? Who's gonna track it down? It's gonna take staff time. Somebody doesn't pay, unless you go credit card only.
Yep.
Then you put it on their credit card, well, then you got their credit card at least. I mean, I just see this as, another roll-off issue, and it's just like, do we really wanna go down this rabbit's hole, I don't know. You know what I'm saying, you guys?
If I may, I don't see that being like the roll-off one, just because it's a one tree planter. They're generally low maintenance, but my concern would be, like, I would like to see it, like, you know, not putting more on a department, but like if it were to be checked in and out at Public Works, where you have someone that's there that can walk around it after it's returned, go through it, say, yep, it's clean, or it's been damaged, and then they would have the tools, facilities, know-how to fix it. They are, like I said, they are pretty minor for workings of this thing. I wish we had a picture to show, because it's just not, they're not that intense. But I think as far as just accountability to the renter, would be the biggest thing. As when I rent equipment, I put insurance holder, my policy number, and then I usually leave a blank check. And that's what, then when I return, they walk around the equipment, they tell me, you know, not been damaged, you know, we'll just pay the rental fee. But as far as that, like I said, I don't want to put nothing on Lauren or the staff or anybody else, but I think that it'd be important to have someone just designated just for this. That way it's in an enclosed area, it's at the same area every time. It's not in the Prairie Building, or it's not over at Solid Waste or Soil and Water, and it's not out at Public Works. It's just one area, but you have to have a staff that's capable of fixing on the spot, and not, oh, the tree planter's broke, it's over here, and no one's had time to go fix it. But, and maybe those issues have all been addressed too, I don't know, but
That's what I'm
No,
saying.
that's why we're here, to
Yeah,
see
okay.
what it is that,
It
you
just
know,
would-
that's excellent advice, and I like the consistency
Yeah.
of what you're saying. So we could reach out to just see if Public Works would even entertain. They might say, go fly a kite.
Sure.
I could definitely see Lauren saying that.
Right.
Should we
Get that
plan?
information and bring it back to us?
Yeah, I'd be curious. That's probably the only department that would be possibly willing to take it on, unless you had a designated staff in an area that was as handy as that would be.
Okay.
Next
So do
board
you-
meeting is August.
First.
Plan to have another work session item that day?
I think so, yeah.
Perfect.
And I would like to see, you know, the supervisors, if they're gonna pass anything, that they're gonna fully support this.
Okay, and then, should we try to draft up, like, what this lease document might look like between John and Chris and ourselves, or whoever's,
Mhm.
okay, so make sure we bring that.
I'm sure we'll generate some of our own questions along the way too, so.
Yep,
All right, we'll be prepared to answer to some of these things and plan for August 1st.
Okay.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you.
awesome, thanks for the direction.
Morning.
Good morning. So we have HHS organizational structure in front of you. Kim and I are gonna tag team this and try and answer the questions as best as we can. Yeah, so, Mike left us in June, right? June
was his
2nd.
last day.
So, with each opportunity and staff that evolved through the department, we look at where we might have some opportunities. We look back, we look ahead, and really, is there anything that we need to change, do differently? And what we have found, and I gave everybody a handout, I believe, so if you could go to your color copied, the blue and the orange. We looked at our org structure and the workload that was put upon Kim's position now, but Mike's position then as the manager. And we talked about, you know, what could we have done differently, what worked, what didn't work.
And we got feedback from Mike as well, and then Michaela,
before he left, who's also leaving.
Yep, who's the current child services
So
supervisor.
we're looking at this real quick. So, we sat down and we spent quite a bit of time talking it through. And we honestly listed out what were our needs and what were our opportunities. With one manager overseeing the volume of people and programs, it was a lot for one person. And I think, you know, that did have something to do with Mike not being here any longer, unfortunately. Work-life balance is important, and I think work was a lot, with a lot of call.
And that's what we found out with Michaela too, as a child protection supervisor. Her call time, she never got to shut it off. It was 24/7 call. And she had to have reception in order to take the call as well. So she could never, her and Mike just could never had the opportunity to shut things off, which is unfortunate. So, we looked at the volume of staff that we have. And we thought maybe, we made this transition back in 2018 when our previous child protection manager had left. It was a good opportunity then to change, and we thought Mike thought he could take that on, and we honored his request, and we were able to stay with one manager to move forward for those 5 years. Things have changed in that 5 years. Our clients have greater needs, so a lot more 24/7 call. Our staff have greater needs. And programs continue to become more work through the state and the audits. And, we continue, as you all know, to see that cost shift come to the county with a greater burden. So we're here today to talk about adding back a manager and moving our child protection lead worker up to a supervisor. So what it looked like is a child services manager, 2 child services supervisors to support that manager, and then the staff that would fall underneath that. And with that, we have an adequate amount of staff to fall underneath those supervisors, which would be 8 staff members under the 1 child services supervisor, which would lead child protection assessment and a case aid. The other child services supervisor, which we would need or have, is the children's mental health licensing, permanency, and relative search. So today at board, through consent, we hired the child protection supervisor. So the child protection side is covered for a supervisor, which is replacing Michaela, who has done an exceptional job supervising the staff, but again, was looking at a better work-life balance for herself and her family. So we have, like I said, the need to hire a child services manager if approved by board, and then the supervisor. With some of the changes, as I look back and we look at opportunities, like I said, when staff come and go, and the elimination of the home care program, we eliminated that nursing supervisor position because we really looked at need. And at this point, I don't know that nursing supervisor position was necessarily needed with me being a nurse, and then I could fill that role. So those staff, those RNs, fall under different supervisor, and then I could give them their direction on their nursing skills.
One thing to point out for that lead position, we don't have anyone in that position currently.
That's been open
for over a year. I think
Yeah,
Michaela
possibly two.
was that lead and moved up to the child services supervisor. The other thing we also looked at that Jackie had mentioned was that the number of staff under each supervisor, we wanted to balance that out more so we could give them the time and attention they need for their supervisory needs. And like she said, we have more people in crisis that we're making split decisions on life-altering things every day, and we just really need to spread that out.
So on one of those sheets, we, some of the pros and cons, we can go through those. Like I said, we spent a lot of time on that, but I think we can do a better job managing staff versus working at a crisis each day. I think it might give us an opportunity to apply for some of these grants that now are coming up around new programs, either new grants, new services, or opportunities. I think we could do a better job recording our time, and we get paid on those hits and our time spent with clients, which would maximize our revenue. Anything I might have missed, Kim?
I think the piece about growing our programs is a big thing because we really want to expand our programs and have someone that is able to focus on that so we can have more and better services for the people of Todd County. And that would give us time versus just always trying to put out those fires day to day. We have someone that can do more of that big picture piece and really just grow those programs. Right.
So if I look at my older,
And the old one I gave you looks like
my
this
older
big one.
county flow chart here though,
Okay.
you had, it's Jackie, you're the director, and then underneath you, you had, 5 managers. Okay, so that was the old one. Now, what I'm looking at is a new one. We're going from 5 managers, to 2 underneath you. Okay, and then we are increasing our supervisors from 1 to 4?
So I have more than 2 managers. I have Catherine, Stephen McCoy, who replaced Lisa Chapin,
Okay,
Jenna Peterson, who's here, financial, and then it would have been Mike, now Kim. And then I'm requesting to add that a manager, so that would be 5. Currently, I have 4.
so it looked like this one, my old
That
one,
might have.
right? So you'd have 5 managers, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay, I don't have the number in front of me. I don't have it in front of me, so I don't, it's hard to correct.
I'm just trying to clarify this for
Okay.
myself, so, so you'd still have the 5 managers underneath you. And then underneath those 5 managers, we'd have 4 supervisors.
It would actually be 6. Would be our
6
proposed, 'cause you have
supervisors.
your 2 in your financial services unit, and then the 2 in the child services unit, and then 2 in the health services
Yes.
unit.
Okay,
Yeah, it's so hard to
I
keep
know,
track
I
of
know.
you
that's
guys.
why I'm
It
just,
is.
I'm trying to sort this out because I got
Yeah.
flow charts and, more flow charts. And
Yeah.
so this is just showing two areas of your department that you are focusing on
One area condensed into.
right now.
Right,
Yeah,
one
that's-
area now, but would be 2 if, is what we're proposing to do.
Right, so this would be just 2 out of the 5.
And this big sheet
Yep.
that I gave you, I have a highlighted area that says health services, would look different if we did this. So this kind of marries that with that highlighted area on health services at the top. This is what the proposal is. Versus 1 unit, it would be 2 units.
Yep.
If that makes sense.
So, Mr. Chair, maybe just to help clarify a little bit further, in 2018, there were 2 managers similar to what Jackie's talking about right now. One of those managers left, the position wasn't filled. So that's, Jackie's requesting to bring that manager position back and then add a supervisor under that new manager.
Correct. Take a lead position and move it up a grade and work through the steps to a supervisor position versus a lead, which becomes, with a lead, they're still union employees, and you can't really, it's difficult to, cannot share confidential information with leads, so it would make that position a confidential position. You know, we had shared this with John. John works closely with our adult protection team, and our child protection team, which, works with their supervisors and managers. And, John, do you have any feedback, that you?
No, I think this makes a lot of sense, Jackie, and I have from day one. I had an experience Friday afternoon. I was walking out, and there was a crisis situation. There was a mom who was refusing to test, and the stuff that they have to deal with on a daily basis demands this level of supervision and this level of accountability. So I'm all in favor of this.
Questions from the board? Yes, no?
I'm trying to fill in names and blanks as I go and try to figure the organization chart out. I understand what you're proposing and what you're doing. It's just hard to visualize the whole picture at one time. And I know by listening with Mike that, you guys need help down there, that, yeah, that you need to do something different.
And I'm trying to provide information so it offers clarity and not confusion, but
Yeah.
it's so big that it just gets, it gets hard to understand where everything is at.
Yeah.
Right, and it is a large unit. So
It is a
it's
large unit.
almost half of our division.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, if this helps at all, we've been trying to have a uniform organizational chart so that every time you look at this data, it's going to look uniform across all departments. So you've seen this org chart several times. This is the proposed that Jackie's talking about. So here's currently Kim's position. This is the new proposed manager and the new proposed supervisor, showing the 8 staff. So if it's helpful for you to look at something that should look familiar from personnel committee meeting to personnel committee meeting, just trying to help the visual.
Right, with the elimination of home health care and the new,
It's a lot of change.
yeah,
and-
Yeah.
so that's what I'm trying to,
Mhm.
So you're right, nursing supervisor used to be another supervisor under, would have been under Kim's name. That's gone now. I should say the program is gone now, the staff.
Yeah.
The nursing supervisor is gone, the program's gone, and we've shuffled the staff under, some of them under different leadership supervisors, so.
But Hillary's block is still staying, that one's still staying as
Yes.
is.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. And who's the next one further down? I can't read that.
Jake?
Okay, and that's staying as is.
That's staying.
Yep.
okay,
All of these would stay and are currently under my position as health services manager minus the proposed positions.
Okay.
so that one right there is,
The proposed,
that's the new proposed for at the next board meeting we would approve,
If you
This one.
chose. Yes,
right here?
yes.
Okay. Yeah, and we'll have to,
And the blue one on here would be the Hillary, right? And that's staying the same, right?
Yes, that would stay the same. The only difference would be, some of the staffing groups would be different, but
Would
that,
be different.
but
would
that's
be
to
leveled
even
out.
out this, yeah, 'cause
Okay.
the CMH unit would go under that proposed position too. And then the DD unit would move to Jake's unit under behavioral health, just to
Okay.
balance the staffing levels out and to provide backup as well.
Okay, and the orange here is what you're proposing, and that's where you need the new hires.
Yep.
With the
Yes.
orange.
Yep.
You should have had that color coded on there, guys.
I know, demand.
To us, it
They did a
makes
great
sense.
job. I mean, they did a great job with that.
Okay. Employee-wise, we're gaining employees by doing it, by making this break? I mean, will the employee numbers be going up or just being
I think reshuffled. I don't think it
Yeah,
would be going
reshuffled.
up. I have no intention. We just hired a children's mental health social worker, that
Yeah.
addition, but other than that, you know,
so the
I,
numbers will be remaining?
yes, stable,
Okay.
yes. And I hope people stay.
Yes.
I don't want anybody to leave. And I think that's what our intent is,
Right.
is that people are, it gets so busy there. It's hard to even get a minute to meet with your supervisor or your manager, that this is gonna offer better work opportunities to have one-on-ones with staff and be available for them. Right now, it's that target kind of revolving door. It's hard to keep up. It's hard to get through your emails. It's hard to think big. It's hard to do, hey, here's a grant that we should really be working on and applying for, because you're just in crisis management all day, every day.
Yeah.
And not only that, you're getting calls at home at night.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, we do want to be available to support our staff because they are doing a lot of hard work, and we
Right.
want to be there for them and try to avoid burnout if at all possible.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, you guys are the ones that know what you need, and appreciate the breakdown of it. And I mean, again, I just can't imagine what you guys deal with on a day-to-day, so I appreciate all the efforts and, again, taking time to explain all this to us and
Thank you.
what the needs are and your concerns, and yeah.
Mr. Chair, if I could just add, so with how many staff there are going to be, that we have somewhat of a reduction just because of home care. But there is the lead position turning into supervisor and adding a manager. So that is a true add, but we had staff that exited with home care.
Right.
So client staffing numbers are gonna be close. I don't know that they're gonna be identical.
And at the next board meeting, I talked to Chris a little bit, we plan to bring some of those positions that we know with home care will be ending soon. So we can formally close those seats or those positions as we transition out of home care as well.
Okay, and then this will be in our packet when we,
I will make sure it's in your packet. I know Nellie sent it to me. I just didn't know what she was giving you and what we gave you, and
right.
and we did, I just seen Barb hold up the job
Yeah, how
description.
did
We do
that-
have the job descriptions there. We are looking at the supervisors being child services supervisors, 2 of them, versus 1 being child protection, 1 being, so we're gonna keep those titles the same, and then the child services manager. We're using existing job descriptions from our supervisors and managers, and we found, I think, 2 things that were changed on it. I think the date, and then probably a program that's under each manager or supervisor. That's it. So we don't feel that'll be up to Chris and Nellie to decide that it needs to warrant going to Springstead to be reconsidered.
Yeah,
So,
because if it does, then it takes
even more
additional time.
Yes, but we really don't feel that
We don't
that
feel it would
is
need to.
necessary. It's not a great enough change to warrant that.
Okay.
okay. Any other questions for the ladies?
Thank you. Thank you.
Gotta date this.
Chris?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I notice that my battery is at 33%, so it's your lucky day. We will move through things a little bit quick, okay?
Lucky day.
But feel free to ask questions. So we are back with the classification and compensation study discussion. I brought information to you in May regarding why it's important to have a class and comp study done. I shared with you some information about vendors that we were looking at, and we were waiting on an updated proposal for one of them. So just to kind of refresh your memory on why we need a classification and compensation study, it's really to make sure that we are aligned internal and external with the market and with our own internal classes. When we look at a class and comp study, we also look at the positions that we have and where we have positions that, for instance, would be I'm just gonna throw this out, like a legal secretary, or maybe it has another name that's very similar. We try to group those together when we can, when it makes sense. So, and it just makes sure that we remain in compliance with state and federal laws. So another refresher, we had our class and comp study done starting in November of 2012. The board acknowledged the study in September of 14, and sometime through negotiations in 15, it was implemented. So it took a long time, and we know that that was a bit of a painful process, both with some vendor responsibility and some county responsibilities. So we've taken a deeper dive into a couple of 3 actual vendors. We've looked at DDA Human Resources, Gallagher, and Baker Tilly. So Baker Tilly is actually Springstead, just kind of rebranded. So all 3 of these proposals that we've looked at allow for modifications to a full classification compensation study, so they can be kind of like an a la mode, a la carte. All proposals include options for ongoing maintenance through their individual companies. And with 2 of them, for sure, with Baker Tilly and with Gallagher, they allow to do training for our county staff within HR to maintain the system. So that's an option for us too. DDA may offer that service. I'm just needing to check on that. So when we looked at the 3 different proposals, DDA Human Resources, which is David Drone and Associates, that's the DDA, their cost for a full study was $46,250, and it kind of spells out what those services would be. You might be familiar with the county using DDA services. In other areas, we had that service for finding a county coordinator at one time. We also had use that service today for DDA HR technical. DDA has ongoing costs as well. If we need jobs rewritten, we need different services of theirs. They offer that per hour or per position charge. Very similar to what we have today with Baker Tilly. If we have a job that we need to have classified, kind of like what Jackie was talking about today, we can run a job description through Baker Tilly. They'll charge us $250 per job description. So just a little background. We also look to Gallagher for doing this type of a study. Their estimated cost is $68,775. And they have, their process is about a 7-month process to complete, and that is dependent on vendor time and also how quickly the county responds to their requests. We also look to Baker Tilly because we are familiar with them. They're who we currently go to when we need assistance with position analysis, and their total cost was $43,700 for their study. And then they also have some additional costs if we want them to do a benefits analysis, look at FLSA, and draft any new job descriptions, and that's at that $250 price point. One of the big issues that we had in the past was how long is this study going to take? And we continue to have that pain when we talk about Baker Tilly. So DDA has stated that they can do a complete class and comp study in 3 months. I haven't actually talked with counties specifically about that time frame. That seems really short, but they say they can do it. Gallagher has a 7-month time frame, and Baker Tilly has a 6-month time frame. And those time frames are dependent on how quick we get information back to the vendor and how busy they are, and the amount of review and revisions required. We did hear from Gallagher, which was why we had such a holdup in getting a quote from them. We heard from them that they were at capacity not too long ago, and now they have capacity again to help us out. So they said, we don't know if we can do this study for you, and now they're saying they can. So we are in the process of looking at different references for these vendors, services that they've done for other counties, other cities, and Gallagher seems to rise to the top when we talk about overall satisfaction. One of the cons to Gallagher is that you pay for that really deep dive and really good look at data. So that they tend to be on the expensive side. They came in as the highest in our comparisons. They've been really good with their timelines, and the timeline issues that have been reported really have to do with counties' delays, not vendor delays. Baker Tilly, they continue to have challenges meeting timelines, and they continue to have some struggles with communicating back to counties. DDA, one of the issues that was heard was that even though they may have been fast in getting information back to counties, there were some errors and some omissions noted, and they were corrected through just their regular communications. So what I'd like to do next, first of all, I'd like to remind you as a board that when we look at having these services done, these are professional services, and you as a board do not have to choose the lowest quote or the lowest proposal when utilizing professional services. So we can take a deeper dive into who would be the best fit for us and not be, of course, we'd be mindful of the cost, but we can pick somebody who's best fit, not lowest cost. So Nellie and I will continue to work through checking references and providing all of that information to you that we have. And I would encourage you as a board, as we know, county administrators and county coordinators might have a different feel for how successful a study was or how much pain a study caused. I would encourage you as board members, when we give you references, to actually reach out to county commissioners and see what their feelings were as they went through studies, because they just sometimes tend to be a little different than maybe administration or human resources. So we will get those references to you. I do have a list of them. I just gave you a real general overview today, but we'll get the more in-depth to you. And I would like to bring this information back to the board on August 1st, or at the latest, the second meeting in August, to have a decision made so we can start the study.
Okay, any questions for Chris? This, when you go through a comp study, experience in it from back in 2012, it does put a lot of pressure on our HR staff, staying up, getting our job descriptions down to them and staying on top of everything is very key. And I don't know with Springstead if it would have helped, but that's the key, is staying on top, making sure that they get all the information that they ask, and we can hopefully get it done within 7 months.
And I think too, Mr. Chair, just having the cooperation of all the department heads and staff to really assist in making sure we get things in a timely fashion.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else? Well, you lucky dogs get to go home. Commissioner Becker and I get to stay.
Home is this far from where I'm going. I won't be going home.
Is there anything else that